All right, everybody, we now take another look here at the investigation into the death of 43-year-old Eric Garner. We started earlier focusing on the policing in the program, and obviously this video that you've all seen here, where literally Garner dying right on a sidewalk in Staten Island, and one of the officers in there, in fact, the officer applying what at least appears to me to be a chokehold, Officer Pantaleo. He has been put on desk duty here for this. But with all that being said, let me bring in our panel right now and talk about where this goes from here, from inside the courtroom, from a strategy and everything else. Jimmy Kasouras. Jim is a criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, lecturing at New York Law School, visiting professor at University of Birmingham in England. Doug Vinoy's founding partner at Carson Vinoy's, focusing on corporate misconduct, selected as one of the Legal 500 as one of the most influential attorneys in the nation. And Mayo Bartlett, former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at Westchester County DA's office, and a very prominent attorney, especially in civil rights cases, most notably. All right, guys, I want to take this in a few parts. First, what is really on trial here? Is it this particular case? Is it chokehold? Is it community policing? When it's all said and done and it's stripped away and they close the doors, and you guys have all been worked in DA's offices before, there's the public pressure, there's the legal hurdles, there's everything else. Jim, I'll start with you. What really are we going to be deciding one way or the other with this case?
Well, it's very hard to separate the public pressure and all of these other things from what is really supposed to happen. The investigation should be into this police officer's conduct, his intent, whether it was reckless, whether it was negligent.
Is intent important here, or absolutely. Is it just the fact that the guy, you know, as the ME report had, really, there was pressure on his neck. He was deprived of oxygen. There may be contributing factors, right? But at the end of the day, they used the word chokehold in that report.
That's right.
Does it matter if Officer Pantaleo meant to do it or not, or is it just does matter if the guy's dead?
It absolutely matters if he meant to do it, and it also matters even if he didn't mean to do it, whether what he did was negligent, whether what he did was reckless. That's where the chokehold and the fact that it was outlawed and that he knew he wasn't supposed to use it kind of comes in terms of negligence and recklessness. But certainly from intent down, what is in his mind is absolutely important.
Doug, I've been talking a lot to a lot of different folks, earlier our guests tonight, but also people in both law enforcement and in different areas of this. Community policing, broken windows, you know, stop and frisk even to a certain degree. They all are intended for quality of life, and that if you treat a small problem when it's a symptom rather than a disease, then it's easier to fix. And we all know where it stemmed from, but where it is right now. To me, I don't understand if you have that amount of discretion in this, whether a guy allegedly is selling loose cigarettes here, being treated the same way as if he was holding a knife on a sidewalk, arguably, how the policy itself isn't rife for misinterpretation, if I want to put it politely. Is that also on trial here? How you can community police, but you basically leave the discretion up to somebody as to, do you got to put the guy down on the sidewalk in a chokehold and put his head into the pavement to cuff him, even if he didn't raise hands to you? He should have he shouldn't have resisted arrest. But that said, that shouldn't have, I don't think, resulted in that.
Well, I think when you look at something like this, everything evolves, and there's a procedure in place. If that procedure was followed properly and a bad result occurred, the procedure changes. But when you look at what you're looking at, the facts, they don't change. You know, when you're looking at an assault, I don't care what program you put into place before that, an assault's an assault, and that ultimately is what you're going to be looking at.
Because even chokehold, just to confuse the lay people out here, chokehold was barred. The very mayor, okay, progressive mayor and everything else said, yes, chokehold, it looked like a chokehold to me, and chokehold should almost never be used. What does almost never be used mean, right? So there's confusion right away. The PBA guy's doing his job, I guess, saying he doesn't see any chokehold. I don't agree with him. He's been on the program. We've said as much. But if even the mayor can't say whether it's a completely unapplicable procedure or not, then how the heck is a jury supposed to say what you can and can't do?
Well, people are going to make arguments to a jury. And the mayor sees it just like a jury's going to see it. And his understanding of what a chokehold is going to be different than what maybe that jury's instructed what a chokehold is. The police officer is going to say, I was doing everything right as I was trained. And the other side is going to say, no, you did things wrong.
Mayo, and I'm sorry, I got to, Eric, I want to go a little bit longer in the segment. The color of Eric Garner and the color of the officers, the color of the people that usually are stopped and frisked, the color of the communities that are more prevalent when it comes to community policing. Is color going to play a big role in it, even if nobody says the word race at trial?
Color should not play any role in it, but
will.
realistically, it probably will. And you have to look also, going back to what Jim was talking about, you look at what type of force is necessary, if any. And when you look at Mr. Garner was in a defensive posture the entire time. He had his palms facing outward. He was backing away. He didn't swing at one officer.
He shouldn't have resisted arrest.
I don't think he did resist arrest. He stepped back. Resisting arrest is taking some physical action, trying to prevent them. So you could say if you're claiming that him taking a step back is resisting, that's the most he possibly did. Once he's on the ground, his hands are out. He didn't swing one time. He's a big guy. He could have been struggling with them. He was subdued, and while he was subdued, they're pushing his head down into the sidewalk. And it's a big 200-plus-pound officer doing that. Now, would that happen if it was in Scarsdale? I tend to doubt it. Would it happen in a less affluent community? That's going to come into play. So is it going to be race? Yes, race will play some role, and so will economics. And I think a lot of times when we talk about community policing, we think it's about responding to conduct such as selling cigarettes, things like that. Community policing is about getting to know the members of the community. That's what it is. It's not cracking down on people.
When we come back from the break, I want to ask these guys what happens when we get inside the courtroom and what happens when we get inside a certain DA's office in Staten Island when they got to figure out where they go next. We've got the medical examiner's report here. Now, Staten Island DA, Mr. Donovan's got a very tough decision ahead of him. We're going to talk about what he's going to weigh one way or the other, where this case could be tried here, and at the end of the day, the outside pressures from one reverend, how much they'll impact this as well. Stay with us.